in the planning and the murder of
so
her
she
uncle.
has no evidence to back it. She has no evidence. In fact, where in the history of Ghana, which textbook, which law case has ever brought up the Edu Lodge as a place that was used to plan the execution of the judges? Completely, it's not backed by any evidence whatsoever. Again, if you knew, if the Chief Justice in her life, and she's not a young person, she's old enough, she's past 63 or so. So if a person like this, who was old enough in 1981, knew that there was a planning to murder judges at that place, and she took no step and had decided to sit back until today, then she's a very dangerous citizen of this country. Yes, very, very dangerous. You knew all these things when those culprits involved had at all material times denied. And what is so worrisome is that being the Chief Justice of Ghana, every year you preside over the service that is held in honor of the judges. You preside over it. As a judge, you have gone there many times, and as a Chief Justice, you preside over at least twice. And now you come and tell us that you know all that happened, and you decided to keep quiet. In fact, I believe that Madame is doing a big injustice to herself. And as my colleague said, there are certain things. You have a family, you know, a husband and children and classmates and church, everything. You don't have to come and do this in public. You see, until she did that, until she did that, I didn't even know that her direct uncle, father's elder brother, was this man who betrayed Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, who took money from the CIA, and he was the most trusted confidant of Nkrumah, and told Kwame Nkrumah that Nkrumah should travel, there would be no coup, because CIA had promised him to make him the next president of Ghana. That man's niece is this man. Until all this matter, I wouldn't have known. So she should not sleep in those lies. Whether she likes it or not, she will not be the Chief Justice of Ghana forever. She should understand that.
I love this historian. I listened to him, but this was grossly unfair. It was completely baseless. And I like the way she talked about Tokonu not having evidence. He says Tokonu doesn't have any evidence about Edu Lodge. He said, which book, which this, which that. But for a historian of his caliber, he has not seen the final report of the Special Investigations Board. He hasn't seen it. This man is much old. He's old. A historian, he's a great historian of his caliber. He has not seen this document that mentions Edu Lodge. I'll come to Kwesi-Nsaki. But look at Edu Lodge. Let me just finish with this one. This is what it says. This is in the SIB report, which was authored by Justice, no less a person than Justice Azu Krab. He authored this report with other senior barristers, Akins, and all of that. They interviewed a wide range of people. It's here. Let me put it well so you can see it. Amatekwe and Captain Chikata met at Edu Lodge on 31st October 1982 and agreed upon a strategy to mislead the Special Investigations Board in order to save the government from disgrace, blah, blah, blah. So it is mentioned. Edu Lodge is clearly mentioned in a very, very important document called the Special Investigation, the report of the Special Investigations Board. This is the most gruesome murder that has occurred in the history of Ghana. And this is the document of the investigation of the murder by a committee put together by J.J. Rawlings and the PNDC, chaired by Azu Krab. And he says he hasn't seen it. Okay, forget about that. Let's come to Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. Put back Kwesi-Nsaki and Nkrumah. Let me deal with it. Alex Kwesi-Nsaki has died. He was Ghana's foreign minister. You come and sit on TV and say that he took $1 million from CIA to betray the Osajefo with absolutely no evidence, no basis. You just say it. And you are accusing Justice Tokonu of saying the same thing. No basis, nowhere. He just said it. I wish I could play that again for you to see if I have time. Because he just said it that, oh, I didn't know that her uncle was Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. And Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, and somebody in the studio was giggling and laughing. I don't know who it was. That when they say something like that about your uncle, about your father, about your grandfather, you'll be giggling and laughing. When the person produces absolutely not one shred of evidence. So we set out to do the research. Now, and he also says that it was Alex Kwesi-Nsaki who asked Nkrumah to travel. That's also so blatantly false. Nkrumah had been invited by the United Nations to become a mediator in the Vietnam crisis. So it has nothing to do with Alex Kwesi-Nsaki telling Nkrumah that you should travel and there will be no coup. That's so childish. Sounds like a conversation of 9-year-olds. Travel, there will be no coup. Is that how presidents travel? President, travel, there will be no coup. President, don't travel, there will be coup. But Nkrumah has written extensively about his life. He has written extensively about his deeds. So a historian of that caliber, I thought that you go and read the document. This is The Dark Days in Ghana, one of the few books that Nkrumah expressly describes all the events that occurred around the coup and around his travel. So Nkrumah had traveled to go and do something very, very important of global consequence. And then you sit on TV and say, Alex Kwesi took 1 million. Oh my goodness, I'm so sad. If you know him, tell him we beg. We love his history. Distortion is the enemy of history. Distortion is the enemy of history. It's not good at all. He shouldn't do that. I want to be a historian too. And I try to make sure that I don't distort. You have to go to the facts and deal with the facts as it is. Especially, so you cannot come and say, Alex Kwesi took 1 million. You just say it on Ghana television. Nothing. You don't provide a shred of evidence. And you say it and walk away with it. I'm challenging him. He should bring the evidence that shows that Alex Kwesi is did whatever. I'm not a CPP person. I don't even know Alex Kwesi. I never met him. Of course, he died before I was born, I'm sure. But that's not the point. It is about the distortion of national history, about which all of us ought to be very passionate. Now, let's go to the Dark Days in Ghana and see the things Nkrumah said. First, about Alex Kwesi, and secondly, about the so-called CIA money. Nkrumah talks about the money and names the people who Nkrumah alleges were to benefit from that money. Nkrumah names them. I'm totally disappointed that a historian of that caliber has not read the Dark Days in Ghana to be able to make important points on television. So all the history that he's been talking about, should we take him serious? I like the way he articulates, and I love his history. But I'm beginning to be worried that if the history he's been talking about is not based on any research, and he just comes to talk, then there's a problem. A real problem that Ghana television should be dealing with. A historian sits on the state broadcaster and talks about Ghana's history anyhow. All right, what did Nkrumah say? Let's check it out. Yes, this is the book, The Dark Days in Ghana. So, thank you. The Dark Days in Ghana is written by Osajifo. Let's go to the details then. All right. Now, we start from how the news of the coup broke to the Osajifo. He says, the news brought to me by the Chinese ambassador in Accra, who had gone on ahead to Peking to meet me and to be with me during my visit to China. He had just accompanied Prime Minister Chu and other officials when they welcomed us at the airport. And he had come straight on out of the government house where I was staying. I remember his exact words. Quote, Mr. President, I have bad news. There has been a coup d'etat in Ghana. I was taking a brief rest after the long flight from Rangoon and wondered if I had heard him correctly. What did you say? Nkrumah asked. A coup d'etat in Ghana? And it goes on. Impossible, I said, Nkrumah speaking. Quote again, but yes, it is possible. These things do happen. They are in the nature of the revolutionary struggle. This is Nkrumah talking. I learned later that the Chinese welcoming party had known about events in Ghana when I stepped from the aircraft at Peking. But the characteristic courtesy had waited to break the news to me privately. My first reaction was to return immediately to Accra. If the VC-10 of Ghana Airways, in which we had traveled most of the way, had been at Peking, I would have embarked at once. But we had left it behind in Rangoon and had continued to Peking in an aircraft sent by the Chinese government. I knew that to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, I would have to be back in Ghana within 24 hours, and this was clearly impossible. I decided, therefore, to make an immediate statement to the Ghanaian people and to fight back on African soil just as soon as my host could make the necessary travel arrangements. As I discussed the news from Ghana with 22 officials accompanying me, among them Alex Kwesi, Foreign Minister, Kwesi Ama, Minister of Trade, M.F. Dayanan, Ambassador Extraordinaire in charge of African Affairs, J.E. Bosman, Ambassador to the UK, F. Arkest, Ghana's permanent representative at the United Nations, I was somewhat disappointed to note their reaction. At a time like this, I would have expected them to show courage and fortitude, but most of them were frightened. Kwesi, for example, developed diarrhea and must have visited the lavatory about 20 times that day. Their obvious dismay was in striking contrast to the calmness and courage of the 66 other personnel, the security officers, and the members of my personal secretariat. These were men. Compared with them, the politicians were old women. So this is part one. Nkrumah describes the reaction of Alex Kwesi and others. Note also that Nkrumah traveled with more than 70 people for one trip. The president of Ghana. Today we say president is traveling. Yeah, that's Nkrumah did that. He traveled. You saw it. 66 security. 66. They were all in the Ghana Airways. They flew to Peking. Sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the president. Anyway, that's a side issue. So Nkrumah now describes Alex Kwesi and says that he lacked courage. He didn't say that he took 1 million from anybody. But I'll get to the millions. And Nkrumah talks about the millions as well. I'm going to get there. So please tell the historian that he should just read the dark days in Ghana and correct himself and stop saying false things about people who have died and giving bad press to their families and all of that. People who have served Ghana, you don't come and sit on TV and say they've done something that you have no basis to say they've done. So Nkrumah says, Alex Kwesi went to the lavatory. He was frightened. The same man that they say he took 1 million for the coup to happen, he was frightened and he went to the lavatory several times. Okay, next agenda is here. Nkrumah says, with Alex Kwesi I will deal later. Kwesi Ama settled down in London, blah, blah, blah. I won't read all that. It's about Alex Kwesi. So he said, with Alex Kwesi I will deal with later. And he does the later in the book. On page 49 of Dark Days in Ghana, he talks about the money. Here we go. Do we have it? Okay, it's still about, it says Kwesi as foreign minister was entrusted with a very important mission. He was to go to Addis Ababa to represent the legal government of Ghana at the OAU conference of foreign ministers due to open within a few days. Instead of rising to the occasion and accepting this great challenge and responsibility, he went to Accra and offered his services to the neo-colonialist puppets, the so-called National Liberation Council. The latter, it seems, made little use of him. Traitors have no friends. So Alex Kwesi was supposed to go to the African Union conference and to represent the government that had been seemingly overthrown by the coup d'etat in Ghana. Kwesi decided that he was too frightened to go and represent the CPP government. So he came to Ghana and tried to make peace with the people. And as Nkrumah says, they had very little use of him. They threw him away because traitors don't have friends. That's what Nkrumah says. So this is Kwesi. He refused to show fortitude. He refused to show strength. But in any case, at that time, all the list of people that Nkrumah mentioned, Kwesi Ama, Dayanan, in fact, Bedema had run away. His finance minister had gone. Almost everyone had deserted Nkrumah. So deserting Nkrumah in those days was not something to be called treacherous. The entire government had deserted the Osajefo for different reasons that we are not going to explain tonight. So Nkrumah was clear in his mind that like Kwesi was so frightened, together with the 22 officials, that he couldn't rely on them. He didn't say they took bribe. They didn't say they took money. That is the bad part that the historian talked about. Now let's go to the money. I'm sure we are there now. Okay. No, are we there? No, he's still talking about the coup, the operation. Well, he talks about Kotoka a little bit here that I might just add. He said Kotoka subsequently boasted of killing of Major General Bawa, but said because he was protected by Juju, he was able to catch the bullets from the bullets that Bawa fired in his defense and to throw them back at him. When the counter coup of April 1967 took place, Kotoka's magic could not save him. Unlike Bawa, he surrendered without protest or struggle to those who had captured him at the headquarters. His juju, as Nkrumah put it, did not prevent him from being shot. So Nkrumah is talking about General Kotoka, who encountered Nkrumah's most trusted general, General Bawa. Those of you who know Accra, Bawa lived at Gold House. You know, Ashanti Goldfields office, there's a house directly on your way to Tank Palace in Roman Ridge. That's where General Bawa lived. And they went there to kill General Bawa. And Kotoka was sort of leading it. And Kotoka boasted, as Nkrumah put it, that Bawa shot back at him, but he had juju to collect Bawa's bullet. And Nkrumah says that when the coup occurred a year later in 67, Kotoka's juju could not save him. And Kotoka sadly died, for which reason we named the airport after him. Okay, let me get to the issues of money. Well, Nkrumah says something here about his family that we'll talk about another time. His mother was forced to appear before a commission of inquiry. All of those things were very bad. I mean, Nkrumah says they put his mother in front of a commission of inquiry to say that she was not the mother of Osajefo and all of that. It's very, very terrible history that we have to remember, but we have to forgive. Okay, so let me get on. I think this is it. So it says, It has been one of the tasks of the CIA and other similar organizations to discover these potential quislings and traitors in our midst, and to encourage them by bribery. Very important, because Nkrumah talks about the deal. To encourage them by bribery and the promise of political power to destroy the constitutional government of their countries. In Ghana, the embassies of the United States, Britain, and West Germany were all implicated in the plots to overthrow my government. It is alleged that the U.S. ambassador, Franklin Williams, offered the traitors $13 million to carry out a coup d'etat. Afrifa, Harley, and Kotoka were to get a large share of this if they would assassinate me at the Accra airport as I prepared to leave for Hanoi. I understand that Afrifa said, quote, "I think it will fail," and declined the offer. So apparently did the others. Now, where is this historian? The historian sitting on GBC. Nkrumah says there was a $13 million, and Nkrumah is alleged, we don't know whether it's true, but we believe Osajefo, don't we? He's our first president. Nkrumah said there was a $13 million available from the CIA to be paid to people to betray him. Nkrumah proceeds to name the people for whom the $13 million was created. Afrifa, Hale, and Kotoka. Does he mention Kwesi? You have seen the words that Nkrumah has used to describe Kwesi in this book. If Kwesi was part of collecting money, surely it would have been here. So people should stop doing that. Come and sit on TV and publish something that you have absolutely no basis to say. You don't have, you are criticizing Tokonu that she provides no evidence, even though the SIB report mentions a do lodge. Forget about that. And then you, the historian, you come and publish something, just say it about people, about Alex Kwesi, his heritage, his family, his children, his grandchildren. Alex Kwesi may have a grandchild who is 15 years old, and you are telling him that his grandfather collected. If it is true, it is true. It's part of our history. But if you don't have a basis to say it, it's really irresponsible to talk the way he spoke. Show the video again. Let's see the video, the GTV video again.
81 knew that there was a planning to murder judges at that place, and she took no step and had decided to sit back until today. Then she's a very dangerous citizen of this country. Yes, very, very dangerous. You knew all these things when those culprits involved had at all material times denied. And what is so worrisome is that being the Chief Justice of Ghana, every year you preside over the service that is held in honor of the judges. Preside over it. As a judge, you have gone there many times, and as a Chief Justice, you preside over at least twice. And now you come and tell us that you know all that happened and you decided to keep quiet. But I believe that Madame is doing a big injustice to herself. And as my colleague said, there are certain things. You have a family, you know, a husband and children and classmates and church, everything. You don't have to come and do this in public. You see, until she did that, until she did that, I didn't even know that her direct uncle, father's elder brother, was this man who betrayed Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Alex Kwesi. He took money from the CIA, and he was the most trusted confidant of Nkrumah, and told Kwame Nkrumah that Nkrumah should travel, there would be no coup, because CIA had promised him to make him the next president of Ghana. That man's niece is this man. Until all this matter, I wouldn't have known. So she should not sleep in those lies. Whether she likes it or not, she will not be the Chief Justice of Ghana forever. You should understand that.
Completely irresponsible. How can you make a statement without any evidence alleging that somebody had taken 1 million or millions of dollars, whatever it is, to overthrow somebody, and the CIA promised him that they will make him president? Through what election? Through the coup? What was he talking about? These are the kinds of things. He's a very good historian. I always listen to him. Anytime I see his video, I watch. In fact, when I know he's going on GTV, I switch in the morning to GTV to watch Kafui Day, and then I listen to him. He's great. During the election, he had a lot to say about history. He's very good. This one was terribly disappointing, and anyone who knows him should tell him that no. Get to the dark days in Ghana on page 49. Nkrumah explains what the millions of dollars there was for. He names 3 people who were supposed to benefit from the millions of dollars, Nkrumah does not name Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. Nkrumah will definitely have more information than the historian sitting in the studio because it was about him. And he wrote an entire book about it. So please, the book is here. You can get copies, contact us, we'll give you, we can just photocopy for you. I think it's out of print. It's a PANAF, publication. PANAF is a UK-based book publisher. And most of PANAF published most of Nkrumah's book, and they did this one as well. Please, let's get the history straight and stop these kinds of things. It's not good. It's not good at all. The fact that Rollins said they should stop learning history in the school, we shouldn't also take advantage of it and just say anything at all because we know that people are not learning history. If people were learning history in their schools at class 6, JSS 1, JSS 2, somebody would have told, hey, this man is not speaking the truth. That's not what Nkrumah said. It's not recorded anywhere. There's no document anywhere that Alex Kwesi-Nsaki took CIA money in. No. CIA may have been involved in the coup. There's no doubt about it. We have put out a documentary where an American expert is saying that the CIA were definitely part of the coup. Yes, nobody's doubting that. But the fact that you say that Alex Kwesi-Nsaki took money is wrong. You don't have any basis to say that. Anyway.
Every day is packed with its own surprises. You never know which thrill is around the corner.
Feel good. Feel good.
Or how it will play out. There's a sense of excitement.
Did our plane just stop? Another cash out.
That adds a little magic to my everyday.
Feels like a party tonight.
iPhone papa ye wo homa
so open iPhones accessories papa dia menhwe baby a
me mo akwa ba EBA phones and accessories
Sebani EBA yeton iPhones any ho accessories iPhone 50 XL kosi 16 Pro Max accessories ye wo charger AirPods any iPhone ho akade nyina yanoma ye ni sikapudu e de beto iPhone say ya ankrankre boja and na say abon adwuma ye phone nyina for 40% beji iPhone bia ope na ni aka no wo de bosome miensa etua ne nkakra ekwan ya obefa so de achi enyi dial *713*5571#. Oba, shenu so se wode wo Ghana card ene nia e kire se oye adwuma hwehwe ye kire kwan e wo circle mo ene tiptoe line ye ni modern photos enchen ho a afein so se wo ba American mall ye ni odo right ene di nhwani kuma senso ye wo edum Central Prisons runabout ajekum abonsan ni mo freyen e wo numbers na ebu screen ni so no EBA phones no hassle cra.
Are you a headmaster, headmistress, parent, teacher, or an educator looking for high-quality textbooks for preschool, primary, and junior high school students? Look no further than Advocate Publishing Company. Advocate Publishing Company is a leading publisher of educational materials in Ghana that publishes very engaging, interactive, and comprehensive textbooks that meet the needs of students, teachers, and parents. Our textbooks are thoroughly published to make learning fun and easy. They are also designed to stimulate critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity in students. Make Advocate Publishing your preferred choice for all your educational needs. Explore our range of textbooks and educational resources. Visit us at the old GNTC yard near Kingsway, Accra. You can contact us on 0503 786 776 or 02408 06354, also 0531 600360, and connect with us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at Advo Publishing. Don't settle for less. Choose the best. Advocate Publishing Company, empowering young minds one textbook at a time. Thinking Publishing, think Advocate Publishing.
Brush, 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 brush your teeth. Brush, 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 2 times a day. Brush with Kel-Kit.
Hello, my friends. My name is Kel-Kit's toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky chicky whiter, chicky chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kel-Kit, happy smile.
A home is more than just walls and a roof. It's the warmth of family, the assurance of security, and the joy of shared moments. Whether you're returning from abroad or seeking a new beginning, Rehoboth Havens Ayumensa is where your journey truly begins. Nestled beneath the tranquil Ebri Mountains, this gated community offers the perfect blend of modern living and natural beauty. Our 2, 3 and 4 bedroom homes are designed for family living with spacious interiors, elegant finishes, and all the comforts that make life better. From cozy living rooms for bonding to modern kitchens for culinary creativity and private gardens for peaceful reflection, every space is thoughtfully crafted. At Rehoboth Havens, your children play safely, your family grows joyfully, and your memories are built on a foundation of care and community. Starting from 675,000 Ghana cedis with flexible installment plans, your dream home is within reach because everyone deserves a place to truly call home. Rehoboth Havens, where futures are built and dreams come to life. Call us on 0553 751933 or 0206 823524 to secure your future today. Rehoboth Social Housing, your housing dream becomes reality.
I'm here at Mycom JA Limited to show you the Promethean Active Panel, the ultimate tool for corporate institutions, hospitals, schools, and your home. With its crystal clear 4K display and an unbreakable screen with an ultra responsive touch technology. This isn't just a screen, it's a game changer. For corporate institutions and in schools, this active panel can be used for Zoom meetings and PowerPoint presentation. And oh, your homes are not left behind. You can use it to watch all your favorite programs by just connecting to a Fire Stick, and you can get access to channels like Netflix and Amazon, and voila, you are in there. At Mycom JA Limited, we provide you with the best quality products from the United States of America with 1-year warranty. You can get an...
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson, Asamo.
Me didn't tum Mr. Friend Calico, just call me cockroach. Now, Mr. Friend me once now. Hey, that's you. Improve car. Yeah. Captain Mosquito, double the accent. Me did this sasso spray. Mr. Friend is sasso quell. Yeah, go to my sasso. Tum preko.
Buy affordable service plots and lands from estate masters. Currently selling our next cottage, located at the newly proposed airport city, with a starting price of 25,000 Ghana cedis. We also have Park Hills, located at Panfukuro in the Gomwa East District, also with a starting price of 15,000 Ghana cedis. Available also is Coastal Park in Akleku, which is a 15 minutes drive from the Ningo Senior High School, having a starting price of 55,000 Ghana cedis. You will receive a free site plan with indenture once you successfully purchase a land from us. For any enquiries, contact the numbers provided. Estate Masters, your most preferred estate partner.
What has happened?
So the Circuit Court 10, Her Honor Justice Evelyn Asamoah has handed down a judgment placing Agrada in custody for 15 years with hard labor, or we say in hard labor. And so, yes, this is pursuant to the case we discussed about 3 years ago, where she was charged for two things: defrauding by false pretenses and charlatanic advertisements.
What did she actually do?
So the defrauding by false pretenses, she made a promise and she actually collected money from church members in an all-night service that she was going to multiply the money for them. And I remember we made the distinction between that and other pastors making calls for maybe seed, that in this instance, the entity that prints money is the Bank of Ghana. And therefore, if you promise to multiply money, you are putting yourself in place of Bank of Ghana, which is impossible. So you cannot multiply money. It is something you just cannot do. But you can pray for people to say that, okay, if I pray for you, or I give you this holy water, or I give you this anointing oil, and you smear on your face, the favor of God can come on you and you can get some money. It's fine. That is not really defrauding.
That's faith-based.
That's faith-based. But in this instance, you are making specific promises and you are hinging it on a specific result. And the specific result is that you are saying that once you give me 10 cedis, I am going to multiply the 10 cedis. I am going to give you 20 cedis. Who prints the extra 10 cedis? It's the Bank of Ghana. I mean, you cannot do it. It's essentially a Ponzi scheme you are running using the name of God. And consequently, that is why she's been convicted. For the 15 years, her lawyer made the case. So what we do in criminal law is that when the case is done, there's something called conviction. Conviction is that the court is telling you that you are either innocent, that you are guilty. So it's either you are convicted or you are acquitted. Conviction is that you are guilty. Acquitted is they say go home, you are free. Now, after the conviction, the court, because she's a woman of childbearing age, would order for an assessment as to whether or not she is pregnant at the time of the conviction.
Even if she's not married?
Oh, that has nothing to do with it.
So at what age will the court say that there's no need for a pregnancy test? 65?
Yeah, possibly. After 60, as you are out of childbearing age.
But miracles happen. Miracles happen.
So the miracle can happen in jail. But we deal with
assuming that the pregnancy test came positive, what would have happened?
Assuming it came positive, then there will be issues of sentencing. So the court would have to look at it. Doesn't mean you still go home or you still go scot-free, but there are other avenues that the court can actually use in making sure that you give birth out of jail before you come back for sentencing, and then you are sent to custody in Sawom. Normally you would go to Ashford for a couple of days or weeks, and then you are processed to go to either the medium security prison at Sawom or maximum at Ankafor. But I don't think she would go to maximum. I'm most likely medium. It's not really. She's not.
Why is the sentence so long? Why 15 years?
Well, the case that was made by the prosecution in this instance was that she's already a first-time offender. In the sense
by doing
that,
what?
So there was a time she ran a TV station, media without license and without accreditation, and so for in that instance she had more or less committed a crime before, and she was quite troublesome in that regard. And it seems because after that, and after a pat on her hand, she had not repented, and she went ahead to commit this crime again. And so the court thought that, well, 15 years. Because if you look at section 132 of Act 29, it prescribes that for the offense known as defrauding by false pretenses, the punishment is 10 to 25 years. So the courts can pick in between, despite the fact that generally second-degree felonies, the maximum is 10 years. But 132 says, notwithstanding 296 in Act 30, which prescribes the maximum to be 10 years, you can still give between 10 to 15, between 10 to 25. So the courts in this instance gave her 15 years.
What are the remedies in the circumstance?
So right now, her remedy, the remedy of counsel is to apply, go on appeal. In this instance, because it was a circuit court, she can appeal to the High Court. Now, when she appeals to the High Court, her lawyers can do what we call bail pending appeal. Now, for the bail pending appeal, the lawyers are supposed to demonstrate that, one, they are going on appeal, and on appeal there is a prospect of success.
Success means a not guilty or a reduction of the court or a reduction of the sentence.
So that's also a different form of appeal. So you may appeal the conviction, or you may appeal the sentence. You may appeal the conviction that you are basically telling the High Court that my client is innocent. Now, you are appealing you may also appeal the sentence in the sense that you are saying that even though my client is guilty, the 15 years is harsh, and therefore something must be done about it. You remember Robert Mensah, the footballer, who had gotten the opportunity to go abroad and play football. For one of the
I like the way you say it, and that's why I appreciate you, because when Robert Mensah died, I wasn't born, you were not born. And you're asking me if I remember Robert Mensah. He died in 1971. He played for Asante Kotoko.
Yes,
but you read about it.
Yes,
the guy who stabbed him to death in Tema. You know about it.
Yes, so
he went very well.
I think last time he was in Ghana having fun with friends before he goes. Then two people were fighting, Melfa and one other person. So he comes in trying to settle the fight, and the one who Robert Mensah accidentally killed charged at him with a broken bottle, and so in an act of defending himself, he killed the person. The lower courts convicted him and said manslaughter. But upon appeal, even though the courts did not, his lawyers did not challenge the conviction per se, they said that the judgment was harsh in the sense, or the sentence was harsh in the sense that he was the person who was coming in to stop the fight, and it was rather the deceased person who charged towards him. So even though, yes, everybody there saw that indeed he stabbed the dead person died, the court should temper justice with mercy. And that is how Robert Mensah's conviction was reduced. In fact, at the time of the higher court's judgment, they noticed that he had served most of the time already, and therefore they just acquitted him.
What about the remedy that lies on the president's desk? How does
so that's Article 72 of the Constitution, which provides for the power of the president to grant clemency. This means that the president can do some things. One, he may reduce the sentence. He may also suspend the punishment indefinitely. What the president cannot do is to erase a conviction. So even if President Mahama, as a result of the hug he shared with Nana Agradaa,
and in the spirit of Thanksgiving service,
of
1st
July, decides to say that, you let her go out of custody, she is still going to be recorded as
an ex-convict,
which means that she may not be available for certain
ministerial
positions,
parliamentary
even
positions.
A director. Act 992, the Companies Act, has provided for that if you are convicted of certain offences relating to honesty, propriety, monetary issues, defrauding by force,
you cannot be a director of any company.
Be a director of a company. So you may not be in custody in cells, though, but you still have the time of.
All we need right now for Agradaa is to be taken out of the cells to continue to do her work in honesty. That's all we need.
In honesty?
Yeah, honesty. But she stopped that. I mean, since the last time, since she stopped, over the last 2 years, she doesn't do Sika Gari. She just has an acidic tongue, and she insults quite a bit, which she should stop.
Yes.
But really, she doesn't defraud people. I don't know. I don't think she does.
Oh, but the multiplication of money, promising.
But she's still doing it.
No, I'm saying I'm talking of the charge.
Yeah, that one may lie. That one may lie. But,
but
right now,
done it. We can't say that because you killed someone in 2020 and you were convicted in 2025. Therefore, we should let you go because you stopped killing people.
Well, I'm saying that part of what should go through the president's mind in suspending the sentence,
punishment, okay,
is that she's not dangerous to the society. I mean, she creates some fun for some people.
Oh, yes.
We use our videos here. People watch and they are laughing.
When we use our videos, our views
are going up. So really, I think that President Mahama should. Is this something the vice president can do on behalf of the president?
No, it's vested in the president. In fact, there may be a debate if the vice president acting as a president
Can do it.
sworn in can do it. Because my philosophy is that the whole purpose of a vice president acting in the stead of a president is for limited functions. I don't think the vice president can act,
Oh, that's interesting. That's philosophical.
Yeah, it's
when the vice president acting as president, he cannot take up the presidential responsibilities in the constitution, like Article 78, 79,
exactly.
appointing ministers.
Because I think the rationale is that you are just warming. There's a political history behind all these things. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown when he was in Hanoi, Peking, China, on the strip to Hanoi. Buzia was overthrown when he was in London for an eye surgery. I think Liman was overthrown. He was here. Liman was here when he was overthrown.
It was in the castle.
When he was overthrown. So I think the history behind that is to always have someone to warm the seats, so that
there's no power
vacuum of sorts, and therefore the warming of the seats should not be taken to be
Again, I tended to agree with you. So where is he right now as we speak, Agra?
Right now, I cannot tell. But the process is, upon conviction, the practice is you would go to one of the main holding cells. It can be any police station. So there are clients that they have convictions that some lawyers are working on their cases. I don't want to use my name, but some lawyers are working on their cases. And before processing, they are even in cells, some at regional headquarters police. So for her, for the importance, how popular she is, she may be sent to Asherford at Jamestown, or she may be sent to one of the police stations that have relatively, I don't think she will be sent to somewhere like Mamprobi police station, but maybe regional headquarters, cantonments, these places where there's security, where she will be processed and subsequently transferred to one of the prison holding facilities.
East Legon.
East Legon seems quite small for me.
The police station?
Yeah, the police
station. But it's near the executive, East Legon Executive Club.
Oh. I mean, with Despice can be really and then processed to the
main. One question which is not legal, and that's my final question. What's going to happen to her husband?
He said, so there's a video. He said that he would, which is interesting. I was expecting him to say, we'll fight. But he said that it's in God's hands and that he will wait for him for the 15 years, wait for her for the 15 years, and he will take care of the church. And I was saying, that's interesting. I thought your first point of call would be, we'll fight this conviction. But he said
I think their only remedy is to get people who know President Mahama and to make a case.
And to talk to
make a case, to make a real big case.
Well, I don't think
President Mahama... But can President Mahama suspend the sentence now, or must she serve some of it?
That was the debate we were having. I am not aware as to whether she should serve a substantial
I remember that during the Muntie 3, it was said that they have served half the sentence already. They had been incarcerated for a month.
Yes.
And that it was due for president to come in. So we have to check the law in that regard. And viewers, those of you who know the law, you can tell us.
72 doesn't
you can share the law with us if you know the law and what it says.
Article 72 doesn't really give the details in that regard as to the number of days that a person should serve a sentence before he or she...
Oh, it doesn't?
Yes, it doesn't. It just says the president has that power to grant clemency in those specific instances. So maybe there may be conventions. But I also don't think President Mahama would because if you look at, particularly here in opposition, talking about the fact that NDC lawyers should get ready so that it comes to take the bench, and then many of these things, CJ Tokonu suspension, it seems I have even some friends USA that the BBC reported president suspends chief justice. They really didn't give the nuance. The president suspends chief justice. Doing this now would also look like a bit too much regarding
interfering
with judicial. Particularly at this time. Maybe if everything was okay, maybe nothing was going on, he could have. But people will take it. People will really take it up and say that you one person you are suspending chief justice. You the same person you've made comments against chief justice in the past, judiciary in opposition, and you the same person you also.
So I think that's a political. Agrada is a nobody. She's not a politician. She's not a, he's not a threat to anybody.
Or somebody who could take, that amount of money from.
But have those people been compensated?
For criminal
law,
victims. Criminal law doesn't concern compensation. Criminal law looks at the conviction of the person. So what they should have done was to sue her in another remedy, maybe breach of contract. Maybe they had, oral contracts are legally enforceable, and so once she contracted to them. That also would not be enforceable, because a contract for you to duplicate money for me, clearly you should have seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you should have clearly seen it's not a contract.
My goodness,
so
this is sad.
These are one. It's one of those. It's one of those.
But
things.
did she not know that on Thursday it was Judgment Day for her? When
Maybe
she felt so excited that
her lawyers had assured her
that there'll be no problem.
There'll be no problem. Maybe they made. I mean, I'm sure they made submissions in courts. They did well and all that. But in court cases, it can go left or right. That it depends on God and the judge.
So what has our $58 million that was paid for the cathedral been used for? Who got it? And for what work done? We need to start from the idea. It is said to have been conceived by President Akufo-Addo to give Ghana a monumental building for national events that will also generate tourism by including a grand Bible museum and garden. The cathedral was also to be used for presidential events, including national church services, swearing-in ceremonies for high-profile state officials, including presidents. Restaurants and other interests concludes the list. The Board of Trustees for Ghana's National Cathedral was officially inaugurated by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on March 16, 2017. By then, 3 things had been done. Design architects chosen. Government promised seed money to be paid through the budget. Sir David Adjaye was chosen as the main architect, and he worked with many famous local contractors, including Asafo Boakye. Who is Sir David Adjaye? Sir David Adjaye, the founder of Messrs. Adjaye and Associates, is a celebrated architect with deep ties to both Ghana and the United Kingdom. He was born in Tanzania in 1966 to Ghanaian parents, and because his father worked as a diplomat, young David moved around several countries during his childhood. Eventually, he settled in the UK, where he pursued his education and built a remarkable career in architecture. It is said that his work stands out for blending modern architectural techniques with strong cultural and historical references, especially from Africa. One of his most famous creations is the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., a building praised not only for its striking design, but also for the way it tells a powerful story through architecture. The land chosen was in central Accra, near the ridge runabout, and measured 16.26 acres. The Cathedral Board was supposed to proceed with supervision and fundraising from home and abroad among Christians in Ghana and the diaspora. Towards this end, a fundraiser chaired by the President was conducted in Washington, D.C. to help in the construction of the National Cathedral. The first part of the $58 million was an amount of $26.1 million paid to Messrs. Adjaye and Associates pursuant to a PPA approval. The money was used for the provision of architecture and design, consulting services, supervision of development, landscape supervision, monitoring and evaluation. Subsequently, structuring was achieved and the following have been done. 1,400 cubic meters of in situ concrete have been poured into the foundational and structural elements. 220 tons of reinforcing steel, rebar, have been installed to strengthen the concrete structures. Initial installation of 10,000 square meters of waterproofing materials to ensure proper protection of the foundation and substructures from water infiltration. 1,900 tons of reinforcing steel have been procured and delivered to the site. Completion of the preliminary setup of the National Cathedral's construction site. Delivery and installation of 5 large construction cranes, a concrete batching plant to produce concrete on site, specialized facilities such as rebar cutting and bending yard, office spaces, a staff canteen, washrooms, and storage warehouses have all been constructed to support daily site operations. For these works and installations, Ribadi has been paid a total sum of $26.7 million for their work in the project. Additions to the cathedral for the purpose of economic sustainability and massive tourism, the cathedral also features a Bible museum as it is in the United States, which generates about $75 million a year, with biblical gardens to facilitate the Bible museum. The total sum of $5.2 million to the design team comprising world-renowned firms Cubic Maltby, the PRD Group LLC, Cortina Productions, Jonathan Martin Creative Incorporated, with project portfolios spanning leading museums in the world, and which team is coordinated by Carrie Summers, the founding president of the globally acclaimed Museum of the Bible, MOTB, in Washington, D.C. In effect, the $58 million was applied as follows. $26.1 million was paid to Messrs. David Ajay and Associates. $26.7 was paid to Ribadi. $5.2 million was paid to the Museum and Garden Design Team of Cubic Maltby, the PRD Group LLC, Cortina Productions, Jonathan Martin Creative Incorporated. This becomes the total sum of $58 million United States dollars paid for the work done. So how will the cathedral look like when fully completed? It will feature the following: 5,000-seat auditorium expandable to 15,000, multiple chapels, a baptistry, and a grand central hall. Africa's first Bible museum and a biblical garden, music school, art gallery, and multi-use spaces, children's area for storytelling and exhibits. The cathedral is intended to serve as a sacred space for national worship, especially during formal state occasions such as presidential inaugurations, state funerals, and national Thanksgiving services. In a country where over 70% of the population identifies as Christian, the project is seen as a unifying symbol that brings together various denominations under one roof, fostering Christian unity and national cohesion and generating significant income for the public purse. The cathedral is designed to be a cultural and educational hub. It will house Africa's first Bible museum and a biblical garden, showcasing the role of Africa and Africans in biblical history. These features aim to position Ghana as a center for religious scholarship and pilgrimage, potentially attracting visitors from across the continent and the diaspora. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever.
Watch it, na learning. Missy, watch and learn. Mekwaya mabesisia. Abozig. Akache say no ya konate and the more drink woman. Hey. But I didn't mean. Oh, sorry. She knew her old days. Eji. Dabio, baby wom. Ready. Hey, baby wom. Ah, Aji. I'll cause some discomfort. Ah.
Anger.
Sorry, what uncle, where would I die? Why your funeral? At phone for Aerofield Trading. Sorry, it killed them all.
No mum share Nanda Daya was mosquito call Esudu Womunumu. Nasa spray with them Musa. Chaisima Edronum and Sana Kodynamo.
And Kratoi FDA Ajatum. I'm here at Mycom JA Limited to show you the Promethean Active Panel, the ultimate tool for corporate institutions, hospitals, schools, and your home. With its crystal clear 4K display and an unbreakable screen with an ultra responsive touch technology. This isn't just a screen, it's a game changer. For corporate institutions and in schools, this active panel can be used for Zoom meetings and PowerPoint presentation. And oh, your homes are not left behind. You can use it to watch all your favorite programs by just connecting to a Fire Stick, and you can get access to channels like Netflix and Amazon, and voila, you are in there. At Mycom JA Limited, we provide you with the best quality products from the United States of America with 1 year warranty. You can get an
MGL Logistics and Supply is your trusted partner, providing seamless solutions for all your procurement needs. From sourcing products to managing imports and exports, we ensure smooth and efficient transactions every step of the way. Whether you require goods from across the globe or need assistance in exporting your products to international markets, we got you covered. General trading is at the heart of our expertise. We specialize in a wide range of products, catering to various industries and markets. As a trusted dealership in building materials, we provide high-quality products that meet the demands of our construction projects. Additionally, we act as manufacturers' representatives, connecting producers with distributors. Our expertise in logistics is the backbone of our operations. We plan and execute transportation and delivery of goods, ensuring they reach their destination on time and in optimal condition. MGO Logistics and Supply, guaranteed satisfaction.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo Kendini, who be here, Semetra Sapapadia to Amame Manfo, Kel Charcoal's natural ingredients, and a bomb is several buying, a man is swing, and a sansu mama hotel so a will beg you.
Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Choose Kel Charcoal Toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel. Happy Smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Buy affordable service plots and lands from estate masters. Currently selling our next cottage, located at the newly proposed airport city with a starting price of 25,000 Ghana cedis. We also have Palm Hills, located at Panfukuro in the Gomwa East District, also with a starting price of 15,000 Ghana cedis. Available also is Coastal Park in Lakpleku, which is a 15-minute drive from the Ningo Senior High School, having a starting price of 55,000 Ghana cedis. You will receive a free site plan with indenture once you successfully purchase a land from us. For any enquiries, contact the numbers provided. Estate Masters, your most preferred estate partner.
Lawyer Balfour, good evening. Welcome to the studio.
Good evening, my brother.
You are coming from Parliament and coming from an extensive practice of law. What do you make of the Chief Justice press conference? Should she have spoken?
It may appear that by speaking, she'll be breaching the provision of the Constitution regarding the secrecy of the process. That said, she appears to be in a very desperate situation. And when somebody is in a desperate situation, you know, they may want to explore avenues so that they can be given a hearing, or people will come to their aid. She said so many things yesterday. What for me is at the core of, you know, the core of the issue is there seems to be a breach or lack of procedural integrity in this matter. And I would want to say that regardless of what we think of her, she has a right to be heard, and she has a right to be deemed innocent until proven guilty. At the heart of our law, in terms of dispute resolution, is that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And indeed, the law requires that when a person is going through processes of this nature, be it criminal, be it disciplinary, the person is entitled to all the assistance that that person requires to be able to prosecute his or her case ordinarily. That then means that the Chief Justice, like any other Ghanaian under the constitution of this country, rather needs to be assisted to defend herself and not to be treated as a person who is guilty. You know, Paul, you said something that is really true. We don't develop a country, right, other than using principles and values. And so we need to build a country of principles. And through the principles, we'll develop the values of this country. You see, without the establishment of a prima facie case, this whole hearing wouldn't have taken place.
What is that?
When you look at Article 146, there's no need for the president to constitute a committee to inquire into the complaint until the president has established a prima facie case in respect of the complaint. In other words, the president deems it necessary for the Chief Justice to answer the complaint. And in answering the complaint, she answers the complaint before the committee. A committee of 2 justices of the Supreme Court and 3 persons who are neither lawyers, members of parliament, or council of state. And so that makes the prima facie determination very important.
Break it down a little bit. What does that prima facie means? President looks at the petitions, looks at her response, and says, "I'm not convinced. The committee must hear you."
The president, together with the council of state, say that, look, in respect of this petition, you have a case to answer. You should respond to this in a more detailed manner than you have responded in your comments. And so go to the committee and answer it. Paul, that makes it necessary, extremely important, for the president to inform the Chief Justice whether or not the prima facie was established in respect of all the complaints or parts of the complaint. From the Chief Justice's account yesterday, she doesn't know which part of the complaint that the prima facie case was established in respect of.
But she asked the committee.
Paul, she doesn't have to ask the committee. If you go to court, it's a quasi-judicial process. If you establish a prima facie, in setting up the committee, you have to put me on notice that of all the issues that were brought against you, we think that as for this one, you should answer them. Don't forget, under the Constitution of Ghana, if you are a judge, you have some immunity. Under Article 127, those immunities are provided to ensure that judges can do their work in freedom without fear or favor or ill will. So they are there to protect judges. Some of the complaints that have been brought against the Chief Justice, right, are in respect of his work sitting as a judge, president of the Supreme Court, right, in respect of some of the matters that she sat on. And so if you have established a prima facie case, Is it in respect of the complaints that concerns her work as president of the court in specific matters that she sat on, or other matters which are totally unrelated to her work, her work as a judge, but administrative duties? But you have to make her aware. Let me tell you why it is important you have to make her aware. In coming to the committee, there is a burden of proof. You see, not all cases requires that the petitioner must prove. When an allegation, for instance, is made in the negative, the burden is rather not on the complainant, it's on the Chief Justice to prove. And so if you make allegations against the Chief Justice and the President has found it necessary to say that I've established that there's a prima facie, it is important for you to let the Chief Justice know which of the complaints you have established the prima facie. That makes the Chief Justice, that puts the Chief Justice on notice, makes the Chief Justice prepared, right, in coming to answer it. But the most bizarre thing, which for me is sad, is that whereas the Chief Justice has not been told which of the complaints a prima facie case has been established, some government communicators have spoken extensively on this matter in the media.
About the prima facie?
About the prima facie, taking the complaint, the petition, and stated that in respect of some of them, the President established prima facie. In respect of others, there was no prima facie. So if the person who is going through this process does not know, right, which of the complaints a prima facie case has been established, but government communicators know about it, is it fair? It is not fair. And so for me, in my humble opinion, right, it really undermines the integrity of the process. And it is very sad that the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana should be going through this. No matter
so without that, how I thought that would guide the committee's work. Is that not what? So she goes and they say that there are 3 petitions against you. Petition number 1 is from Paul Adumochi. He says that you don't come to work early. And the President has seen the evidence of Paul Adumochi, has seen your response, and thinks that you should explain yourself to the committee. Without that, what process are they going through?
Paul, and that is what makes it bizarre. And so without further information, I am saying that what is happening undermines the integrity of the process. It casts the whole process in a certain light, right? That makes it seem not to be genuine. It appears that people are using the camera or the secrecy of the process to achieve a certain end without more. And that is why it is important for the issue that the Chief Justice has raised to be answered, particularly the absence of notice to the Chief Justice as to which part of the complaint or the petition a prima facie case has been established on. Without more, it really, really, really casts serious doubt on the integrity of the process. Look, I understand that the procedure which is being used or has been borrowed is the civil procedure rules.
Yeah.
And the Chief Justice thought that they should rather use the commission of the procedure, designed for commission of inquiries. I understand, I saw Mr. Tadiosori also, raising issues about the Chief Justice's position.
Yes.
As much as the committee is free, together with the parties, to agree as to the procedure to be used, right? I think that the commission of inquiry is analogous. And that for me should be preferable to the civil procedure rules, which is an adversarial regulation of our courts, adversarial regulation or procedure that regulates litigation in our courts, which is why the Chief Justice is saying that the whole process is very adversarial. My brother, even employer-employee relationship, right, matters relating to employer-employee relationship. When there is a hearing, when you go, you are told exactly why you are there. You are told exactly why.
So she's not being told. That's why she's talking about Nebuchadnezzar?
Yes, because a petition has been filed. That petition, right, there are 3 petitions containing various complaints. Those 3 petitions, right, the president says he has established a prima facie case on. The duty was, the president and the Council of State have established a prima facie case on. There is a duty, a legal duty, to inform the Chief Justice whether the prima facie case was in respect of all the 3 petitions or parts of the petitions.
So she will know how to prepare?
So she will know how to prepare. It's a basic principle.
So she's being tried in the dark?
She's been tried in the dark. She's been tried in the dark. It's the basic principle of the rules of natural justice. I have to know what I'm up against. It helps me in preparing my case. It helps me in knowing the burden on me in terms of the evidential burden. It helps me in putting together my evidence. It helps me, right? Paul, even in the Garden of Eden, when Adam, right, went to eat the apple and God appeared and they said, and he asked them, Adam, what have you done? He gave Adam the opportunity, right, to answer for himself. That's the rules of natural justice. You should put the person on notice, the nature of the case you have against that person, which is why in civil litigation you file pleadings. The pleadings comes to you, you have sufficient time to prepare your case. That is your defense. Okay? In criminal law, in recent times, in the case of Martin Pebu versus the Attorney General, the Supreme Court has held that disclose all the evidence you have against the other side, so that based on it, the person will prepare his or her case. Okay? I think that it was, that underpins, that philosophy underpins our justice administration system. It is to ensure fairness, so that nobody is ambushed. I mean, think about it. The Chief Justice is undergoing through this process in camera, where from her account, she's not even allowed family members or witnesses to come along. Even in employee-employer relationships, when you are going for disciplinary hearings, Paul, you are asked to bring a friend to witness what goes on. So why are we doing this? If the Chief Justice's account for me is true, without more, I think that the integrity of the process is significantly undermined by what we are saying, by what she has said. And something has to be done to remedy the situation. A lot of the things she said, for me, are sentimental, right? I think that the government can, in the spirit of fairness, address them. For instance, if it is Edu Lodge she's not comfortable with, government can assist by providing an alternative venue. I think, for instance, that in respect of those issues, the Chief Justice could simply have written to the government to express her concerns. And if they had not been addressed, then she could have stated them in her press conference. And so for me, the complaint in the press conference in respect of that, for me, could have been handled in a better way, differently. Yeah. But in respect of this matter, how many times haven't we talked about this prima facie and the need to give the Chief Justice notice of what constitutes the prima facie? President Akufo-Addo, when various complaints have been made against, petitions have been brought against previous Chief Justices, Chief Justice Georgina Wood, Chief Justice Sophia Kufu, Chief Justice Enini Abua, in all instances, when he deemed that there was no prima facie case, did not just write to the petitioners and say that there is no prima facie case. Professor Kweku Azar, he had petitioned against the Chief Justice, and the president didn't just simply write to him and say there's no prima facie case. He gave reasons why there is no prima facie case He went over and above himself. And I don't know why, in this instance, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, is looking on. I think that the nation needs explanations from the Attorney General, for instance. He is the only one whose office is guaranteed under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. He's not there for any reason apart from making sure that the president and other people who are acting together with the president, and in this instance, the Council of State, work in accordance with law or act in accordance with law. I think that Dr. Ayeni would have to explain to the nation if what the Chief Justice came out to say is true. Dr. Ayeni has a responsibility as the Chief Legal Advisor of government to explain to us if what the Chief Justice is saying is true. Don't forget that under the laws of this country, all human rights actions, the Attorney General is a party. It's not a coincidence. It's because there is a burden on the Attorney General to defend the fundamental human rights of people, right? And so he has to explain to the people of Ghana whether the complaints of the Chief Justice is true. Because the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana is being denied fair trial. That is what it is. It's being denied fair trial. So Dr. Dominic Ayeni owes us an obligation to explain to us if it is true. What kind of legal advice is he given at this time? Right? What kind of legal advice is he given? We need explanations. Okay? This 1992 Constitution, I keep saying, we must reap the fruits of the Constitution, Paul. And so for me, this information...
But as people have written on social media, these are the same matters she put before the Supreme Court and she was denied. The Supreme Court dismissed the action.
Well, the Supreme Court dismissed the action.
Yeah, they did.
And they said because it was in camera. It is out of that frustration that she's out here complaining. I am saying that when you look at the issues that she took to the Supreme Court, right, it was the petition, it was the supplementary affidavit which she filed, which basically she was putting out those complaints. The Supreme Court had deemed that not to be relevant to the matters before them because they felt that that was not the forum. The reason why she was there was different from the reason why the basis for the supplementary affidavit. That was perhaps the reason why the Supreme Court took that position. It doesn't take out her right to fair trial. She's entitled to fair trial. All the issues she's raised, as I've said, most of them are sentimental. But the issues as to, lack of sufficient information on which of the complaints a prima facie case has been established on is so fundamental. Even under the civil procedure rules, that is the CI 47, which I hear has been adopted to regulate the proceedings. Notice is given at each stage of the proceedings. Look, it is an anomaly in the civil procedure rules, right? It is only in exceptional cases that somebody can even act without notice. And it is to ensure transparency so that nobody does ambush litigation. And so if an in-camera proceedings of this nature, right, there seems to be lack of transparency, even as it is in-camera, then it leaves more to be desired. It raises suspicion, it leaves a lot of suggestions. And I think that the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana would have to explain to us why this is happening, if true.
Wow. Let's see what people are saying by the text message as we get in Dr. Zato. Kobe, let's start with you. People who are listening to Labaf, what are they saying? This is a very serious matter. What are they saying?
Ransford Yaira says, but does it matter whether she's notified of which charges establish a prima facie? She already knows about all the charges, hence her initial response. She should be able to respond to whichever ones made their way to the committee. Anameboa. Now, I'll read a message from Rich Golden. It's quite lengthy. He titled it Judicial Murderers. He says the PNDC regime under Jerry Rawlings stained Ghana's conscience in 1982 with the cold-blooded slaughter of 3 judges, Justices Kweku Eje, Cecilia Cranting Ado, and Sarkodie, dragged from their homes, tortured, and executed like enemies of the junta. Their charred, bullet-ridden bodies were not just casualties of tyranny, but a declaration of war on justice itself. Rawlings' regime, drunk on impunity, sought to crush judicial integrity, silencing voices that dared uphold the rule of law. This barbarity exposed the PNDC's visceral hatred for a free judiciary, a truth etched in blood. Today, the NDC, PNDC's political heir, audaciously poses as defenders of judicial independence while replicating its progenitor's brutality. The orchestrated political legal removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu is not mere politics, it is a bloody murder of judicial autonomy, a gruesome reenactment of 1982's carnage. Stripping her of authority, they knife the soul of justice, mocking the martyrs they once silenced. No organization has butchered Ghana's judiciary with such chilling consistency. The NDC's hands drip with the blood of judicial martyrs. Their rhetoric reeks. To speak of judicial independence is to spit on the graves of the slain. The NDC are not reformers, they are executionists in democratic disguise, forever Ghana's darkest paradox. What do you have for us, Antoinette?
Oh, quite a lot. We'll start with what Shifman Osei says. He says, I have really enjoyed the law education by lawyer Bafo Iwa tonight. Frankly, the charges against the CJ are just frustrating and weird. And this is a clear case of give the dog a bad name and hang it. If the NDC can do this to a whole Chief Justice, where is the fate of the ordinary Ghanaian under this government? Our judiciary is indeed under attack, he says. Now, Papo Emmanuel says, listening and watching Justice Tokonu yesterday reminds me of a novel I read in my high school titled In the Chest of a Woman, written by the late Efo Kojo Mangwe. In the Chest of a Woman is not only an extension of the breast and the feeble heart, but a flaming desire to possess and use power. I just like the courage of the ladyship, Justice Tokonu, and I see some interesting days ahead, and may God give her the strength to fight to the end. Now, Eben Nawagata says, Lawyer Bafo makes law very simple and beautiful. He understands our civil and criminal jurisprudence. No wonder he is the member of the Honorable Society of Lincoln's Inn. Now, Nana Owusu says, Paul, recently my NP was removed from office in the UK, but initially hundreds of thousands of people signed a petition before the inquiry and later by-election was held. But in Ghana, a country of 30 million plus people, and only 5 whiners can remove a Chief Justice. Is this a joke? Moses Champon says, well said, learned lawyer. Where is the prima facie? What cause did the president see before forming his committee without letting the CJ know the prima facie case against her? They should continue to harm her, but they will not rule for good as long as the law gives her strength. Now, Ifoyebua says, may I know which constituency this gentleman represents in Parliament? He is very learned. Lawyer Bafo is the MP for Minsha South constituency. Jaka Derek says, it seems that the NDC is setting a bad precedent for the future, and Ghana will be the end loser in the end. Now, Nana Owusu says again that I thought the CJ's committee is inquisitorial, and if the so-called petitioners are not allowed to be cross-examined, and again, being represented by their lawyers who are not the ones who submitted those petitions, then the process is adversarial, right? He's asking Lawyer Bar for that, lastly. Now, lastly, would you want to answer that?
Yes. Want to answer? Yes, you can answer.
Paul, what was the question? Question again.
He said, Nana Owusu said he thought that the CJ's whatever committee is inquisitorial, and if the so-called petitioners are not allowed to be cross-examined, and again, being represented by their lawyers who are not the ones who submitted those petitions, then the whole process is adversarial.
Yes. Then the whole process becomes adversarial, like what happens in court. But for me, that is not as fatal as not being put on notice the case that you are up against. Because look, if the person fails to turn up, right, and he brings witnesses, and the witnesses fail to testify to prove the case, then you have the upper hand, you succeed. But you should know the case that you are up against. Because look, assuming you are if what the CJ is saying is true, and I have no reasons to doubt her, subject to further information. Paul, if you are using even the CI-47, with the CI-47, before going into a matter, you set down the issues, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you are setting down the issues to be resolved or to be inquired into, okay, we should be guided by the prima facie determination. Mm-hmm. Because in the absence of the prima facie determination, how do we then agree to the issues that the
So you think an urgent question should be put to the Attorney General in Parliament?
Yes,
for him to come and explain?
Yes, and I'm going to do that. He should come and explain to us, right, whether what the CJ is saying is true. But you know, these questions, whether or not they will be admitted to, is at the discretion of the Speaker.
Or the Speaker can decide not to.
Yes. And
well, you may come against the headline of it's a prima facie, it's an in-camera conversation.
Yes, because don't forget, recently we wanted to inquire into the dismissal of certain public officers based on the directive of the Chief of Staff. And the first Deputy Speaker simply stated that because the matter is pending in court, right, he will not allow the matter to be discussed.
But is it pending in court? Some of them have sued the government.
Yes, but you see, the interesting thing is that under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, we have parliamentary immunities. So there's no express restriction. You understand?
So you will not have breached the sub judice?
No. The
sub judice rule.
The sub judice rule in respect of Parliament is at the discretion of the Speaker. However, because it suits the NDC, the first Deputy Speaker chose to use it as a carte blanche defense in Parliament.
To gag every member
of Parliament from talking about it. And so in this particular case, I suspect this is what they will do. And so sometimes don't even waste your time. However, you also have to do it for the public to know that, you know, it's not a case that you are not acting. But I think that the Attorney General, right, if he's not giving the President the right advice, right, he has to make the prima facie determination available to the Chief Justice. Because, and then very respectfully, Justice Puaman and the other Supreme Court justices sitting on this matter, it doesn't matter what we think of Justice Tokonu. She deserves a fair trial.
Yes.
If you are using the CI-47, subject to further information, then you need to set down the issues for determination. And those issues will guide the Chief Justice as to the nature of evidence she has to produce to prove her case, right, or to dispute the allegations before the committee. In fact, the petitioners themselves would need that to guide them in terms of the evidence they themselves even need to produce to prove their case. In the absence of that, whatever they will be doing there is ad hoc. It's ad hoc.
That's interesting.
Yes. It's ad hoc, and it is not fair. Look, even the devil will have his day on the day of judgment. The good Lord will not throw the devil into the fiery fire simply because he knows that he was the devil in the world. He will give the devil a hearing, a fair hearing.
Judgment day.
Judgment day.
It's a trial.
It's a trial. And so, no matter what we think of a person, I stand for human rights, respect for human rights. You see, that is godliness. That is godliness. Oh, sometimes you know what I say to my friends? I say, I'm sure if Jesus had appeared in Ghana and he was being crucified, would have had a lot of us who profess to be Christians shout, crucify him, crucify him.
That's
crucify
what happened in Judea.
In Judea. You understand?
Yeah.
But once we are Christians, okay, we should care about one another. And that is godliness.
That's the legal view, viewers. That's the strong legal view advocated by Lawyer Bafoiwa. But now let me bring in the political science view from the great corridors of the political science department at the University of Ghana, one of the best departments that you can ever have in the world, producing Cathedral and Professor Michael Quay, one Speaker of Parliament, producing a Deputy Electoral Commissioner, etc. So, and also producing Professor Ransford Jampo. Dr. Zato is here. Good evening, sir. And sorry for keeping you waiting. That's BAFO has given us a legal. What's the political science view of this Chief Justice matter from the way you look at it?
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you for the good things you've said about the Premier Department of Politics in Ghana. You are a great alum, and I know that they've done a lot, and the department continues to shape the minds of politicians and politics all over this country. This is the first time I've come here, and I want to thank you for
we are sorry we kept you away so long.
Yes. I almost fell asleep behind because it's past my bedtime. So, thank you, Honorable, for the excellent submission, the legal submission on this Chief Justice matter. But of course, because I'm not a lawyer, we can actually do that. We can go behind this and to look at the political ramifications of this. Now, sometimes when you speak to some people, they make these arguments simplistic. The former electoral commissioner was removed from office. So this one is being removed. So case closed. Now, if you just then that means that they are trying to shut down the whole debate. They are trying to shut down any attempt to look beyond just those quantitative numbers.
Say that they are fighting against hypocrisy.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That is a quantitative.
That we all sat down for Charlotte Osei to be removed. We didn't conduct these programs. We didn't say all the things that we said. And now it comes to another woman. Hey, we are shouting.
Agree. That is a quantitative argument. One woman, another woman. You can just, and it becomes simplistic, you put it like that. But we can then do a qualitative argument to say that Honorable Charlotte Osei was not a co-equal member of government.
To the CJ.
To the CJ. The CJ she's the head of the judiciary.
Oh, I mean, one of the three arms of government.
Three arms of government.
She was not the head of an arm of government.
She wasn't.
She was part of the executive.
The EC is part of the executive.
Yeah.
So there are two different things. Quantitatively, yes, two, there are two people. But qualitatively, you make the argument that one is an equal arm of government. So if you actually look at three arms of government, there was once a debate in Parliament, and the Honorable Speaker of Parliament says, I am number 3. What is your number? He was making a very, very important case because your number determines your power. The President is number 1, the Vice President is number 2, the Speaker of Parliament is number 3, the Chief Justice is number 4. And that is it. Nobody else has any number. So qualitatively, if you are removing an equal arm of a government, that has serious ramifications. That's different.
Sorry to take you back. It's just bringing something to my mind. I hope I'm not being boring with these viewers. If that is so, in the context of political science, removal of the Speaker is left to Parliament.
Yes.
Why is removal of the Chief Justice? Why does the executive have a role to play in the removal of the Chief Justice when the executive has no role to play in the removal of the Speaker?
Intentionally so. Thank you. The Parliament is a political house. It's a house of politics. It's dominated by politicians. And so the Speaker is a creature of the same politics that is there. And every politician, everybody there has a political party to support you. You have your own people to support you. So you have your own defense right there with you. The executive have their own defense there. You don't just get up and
okay,
walk
well,
and
but
walk
the
there.
impeachment of the president, Parliament is involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it's only, in fact, if you also then look at the numbers, number 1 and number 2 have huge political parties to defend them when there's a need. Parliament is legislature have huge constituencies to defend them. It is only number 4 that does not have any constituency to defend them. In fact, they don't have any defense whatsoever. The only thing that
they cannot defend themselves.
They cannot defend themselves. They have no. The only thing
Justice Kulendi made that point once upon a time.
The only thing that comes anything closer to defending them is their union.
Union
is the union of
magistrates. The judges and the magistrates.
They will come there. So that's the thing. So quantitatively yes, qualitatively no. There's a difference, and that difference must be made because if you don't make that difference, then you are not expanding any knowledge. Then you are not trying to explain anything better. Your argument becomes lazy. Secondly, he made a point. There are legal issues, but there are also political issues. Politics law says you receive a petition, and then law says you cannot keep the petition. You must send the petition to Council of State. But the law doesn't tell you how early it should be sent or how late it should send. How long can you keep it? How long can you not keep it? I don't know whether it says that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't. So I can receive a petition in the morning and send in the morning. I can send the same petition in the morning, send in the afternoon.
2 years later.
I can send it 2 years later. So the speed and the alacrity with which it is sent is political. It's not.
That's interesting. It's at the discretion
It's
of
at
the
the discretion of the
president.
president.
So you're
How-
making it to a political
But it's
discretion.
a political process. So that
You don't say that within 2 weeks of receiving which the constitution says in other parts, within
Yeah.
a few days of doing this must happen.
Yeah, this one I don't. So if it doesn't, then that means that
That's interesting.
when you send it there, becomes a political issue. Number 3, you made a point, and I don't get it. If the Council of State made a decision then, and the decision of the Council of State, so far nobody has seen it. In the last case between when was made between Akufo-Addo and the Council of State, we actually saw it. So again, the decision as to whether you should make the decision,
The prima facie available.
it's also political. It's not legal.
You can decide not to make it available.
But that's what the chief is saying now.
But that's what the lawyers are complaining, that's totally wrong.
Again, I'm saying if the law doesn't say make it available.
Oh, I get your point. The law does not compel them to make it available.
Public, yes.
That's why Mahama Yari is moving the CI in Parliament.
So in the case of Akufo-Addo, even though the law doesn't say make available the Council of State,
He chose to do it.
He chose to do it.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to promote transparency, accountability, fairness, justice. He wanted everybody to see that these are the legal decisions. He didn't want you to agree with his decision. It's a legal decision. You can disagree with it. But even if you are disagreeing with it, you know why. You know how he got to know. In this particular case, we don't know how the Council of State got to yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, we don't see the legal decisions espoused, anything. We don't see that thing is a closed box, and that is the problem. What is in there?
This is a very interesting idea.
Yes, so we don't also see what is inside there, and because you don't see what is inside there, it's raising these issues. It's raising these issues, and you see, I have said something that I don't know what I should say it again. That I believe the Chief Justice has gone. I believe that she will go. That nothing will save her. But at least she will go, and now we don't know. What if in future? What if this is leaked? What if she's removed? And then later something happens and this decision of the Council of State leaks. And now we're talking like, really? You remove Chief Justice because of these decisions? That would be too late. But what if we see it today?
Who are you blaming for this process? Constitution? The provisions of the Constitution?
Discretion. And because it creates discretion. Remember, in politics and especially in public administration, a lot of discretion is given to policy makers. Somebody is making these policies and that person decides not to release these things. That's the point I'm making. Who has the power to release the decision of the Council of State? It's the president. It has not happened. The question is why hasn't it happened? You need it to happen so that we can add it to what we know.
Do you attribute bad faith to it?
I don't want to attribute bad faith because I don't know who is deciding, who is making this decision.
Do you think it's a dereliction of duty? It's a deliberate political decision? It is intended to obscure the matters from her and make her prosecution easier, or is just oversight?
All of the above.
All of it together.
All of the above. All of the above.
That's interesting.
All of the above. Because I believe strongly that inside the making of these decisions, I don't think personally the president wants to remove this woman. I don't think so. Because you see, it's going to be a very big thing on his legacy. This is a legacy defining president. This is last time. He wants to leave a very good legacy. He wants posterity to remember him as the president who came and did amazing and wonderful things for this country. He wants history to be very nice to him. This thing will be part of that history, and I don't think he wants it.
So how is he proceeding?
I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't think.
That's interesting.
I honestly feel that he's a very nice person. He's a nice man. He doesn't want this on
his table,
on his record. But it's going to be there.
But who is pushing it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you, I'll come to bar for the legal. If this process has not ended by August, do you think that is beginning to soil the hands of government? Because I understand that the Chief Justice has a lot of witnesses to call, and they are very important people. I don't know who they are yet, but apparently they are very important people she's going to call into the committee. If this process doesn't end by, say, August, is it beginning to build the case you are making?
Look, I don't think this was how
they planned it.
It was envisaged. It should have been a surgical process. Surgical.
Quickly, done, finished.
And then we can move ahead to other things. Because look.
But now it's becoming...
It's almost being dragged out. It's an albatross. And every day, whether you like it or not, people are beginning to understand what at all. So the question is, what at all is inside this decision that is not being made public? Because, and there's something to be made. It's on record that the members, senior members of government have come out to even announce to us how the Council of State voted.
Oh, really?
Oh,
we know that?
Yeah, no, they actually announced.
Majority vote, a high majority.
There's a news report directly quoting the communication director of the NDC as having said that they all voted to convict except the former Chief Justice who abstained.
Oh, I see. Yes, I heard that.
Good.
Yeah.
So now, here's a question. Remember, I'm a Catholic. We just finished, we went to a conclave and we came on. Imagine you come out of a conclave. We are not supposed to know how, all we know is that Habamus Papam, we have a pope.
Yeah.
Now you are coming out to tell us that not only is there a Habamus Papam, but out of the 133 cardinals, 132 voted for Pope Leo. How did you get that information? So we know that information, but we don't know why
they went into the decision.
So far, that decision, the media has reported it. The Council of State has not issued a disclaimer or a statement saying that no, it is wrong, we didn't vote like that. So the only thing on record now is that this was what happened at there. Who gave them that information? How did they know it?
The Council of State must have given it.
I'm not saying that.
Must have, because it's coming from them.
So somebody in there or somehow the information leaked. And that is where you can then begin to see what I'm saying, the process politicized. That if you choose selectively to make some information available, information that you know is in nuance to the whole process, why are you doing that? There has to be a reason. I don't know, but there has to be a reason.
Politically, do you think they are doing that because the cases are not that strong?
I'll let the lawyer...
let me ask you the same question. If and I'll switch to Doc for politics very soon on the MPP and the Kufuor situation. And you are also a member of the MPP. You can talk about that, but you have to be wrapping up on that one. Please, if the process drags to August, from your legal spectacles, and looking at the vacation is when? End of July.
End of July.
So if by legal vacation, end of July, the process of the removal of Justice Tokono is still ongoing, and it doesn't look like it's finishing, what will be the sentiments from the General Legal Council, the Ghana Bar Association?
I expect the Attorney General to comment on it at the Bar Association.
At the Bar Conference?
At the Bar
Conference. By then, hopefully it will be over, maybe,
well,
I don't know.
Whether or not it is over, I expect him to update us.
Do you think that, against what Dr. Zato is saying, that there's still an opportunity for Justice Tokono to return as Chief Justice?
I think it's premeditated.
What is premeditated?
Her removal is premeditated.
Some people think so, yeah.
No, it's completely premeditated. But today, Mr. Johnson Esiedu-Nketia has stated that the 3 heads of the Electoral Commission should be removed. Prior to the Chief Justice suspension, there was a media talk by Mr. Johnson Esiedu-Nketia, right, saying that the Chief Justice will go. And in fact, it's happened. The process is commenced. You see, you cannot underestimate the importance of Mr. Johnson Esiedu-Nketia. He sits in cabinet.
He does, yes.
He sits in cabinet.
He chairs the ruling party.
Exactly. And so he knows everything that has been planned. And so if he comes from under the sea to tell you that the crocodile is dead, then in fact the crocodile is dead. And that is what is happening. It's a whole plan. Remove the Chief Justice and then remove the EC bosses. Papa, it saddens my heart. Let me tell you why I said it saddens my heart. Mr. Esiedu-Nketia, very respectfully, is an octogenarian in terms of Ghanaian politics.
Okay.
He's very experienced.
He's not quite 70 yet, though.
No, but
real age.
He's so it's not about age. In terms of his experience, quote and unquote. You saw how President Kufuor spoke to the MPP yesterday.
Yes.
I expect Mr. Johnson Esiedu-Nketia to handle things in Ghana like that. A real father, a real statesman figure. He is the longest serving party executive in the history of this country. Since the year 2000, he has been an executive of the NDC. He has witnessed the military rule. He has witnessed...
He was a member of the Consultative Assembly.
He was a member of the Consultative...
That rose in the Constitution.
Exactly. We need such figures to help us develop our democracy and not destroy the gains we have made. But there's something which is emerging in Ghana now. Now, when presidents or governments take over, even state-owned enterprises, the executive directors, they clear all of them. right, and bring their own people. In some instances, let me qualify it. If this culture continues, very soon, governments will come in not only with their parliamentarians, they will come in with their judges, they will come in
with their chief directors,
the
executive secretary, drivers,
exactly,
post office master,
exactly,
Bank of Ghana governor.
And do you know who is going to suffer? Their ordinary supporters. What it means is that for 4 years, when the new government comes, everybody is going to be unemployed on their part. And then when a government changes, the old government too, everybody is going to be unemployed. Is that what we want this country to be like? Instead of politicians applying their minds to creatively develop employment for the people of this country, this is what we are doing.
State capture here, state capture there.
Are you getting me? And I expect Mr. Johnson Asiedun Ketia, with his experience in politics, to become a father figure for our democracy. That is the role he's supposed to play in Ghana now.
Not to be calling for the removal of
electoral
electoral
not to be
commissions.
destroying the gains. But when you are an elder in a society, you should be forgiven. You should not be bitter. You should be forgiven. You should not be bitter. You should not be interested in. You should not be vindictive. That is not what leadership. That is not what leadership is about. Leadership is about rallying everybody and ignoring sometimes some of the things you hear.
But if Asiedun Ketia feels that the electoral commission is not good, can't he share an opinion?
When he expressed, his concerns about what he deems his grievances about the EC, I laughed. Paul, in 2012, the most celebrated electoral commissioner in the history of this country, Dr. Afarijan, who had been around for more than a decade, Paul, he conducted elections, the general elections, over a period of 2 days, unprecedented in the history of this country. The first day, it was a Saturday, I remember. And then he did the second day, right?
2012.
2012. Will you say that is incompetence? That notwithstanding, Dr. Afarijan is celebrated in this country. 2 days. Instead of 7th December, the elections ended on the 8th of December. Prior to that, the district assembly elections, he ran it over a period of 2 days. The same year, the year before, he did it over a period of 2 days. Was that incompetence? The Electoral Commission took office less than 8 years ago, right? Conducts elections.
Of 2020.
2020 has a problem with one area. 275 constituencies has a problem with just one area. Paul, can that be incompetence?
Is that the point they are making? The
Yes,
SAL?
it's a SAL. But let
But
me
that
ask
one
you.
draws in different kinds of parliament is in there, the attorney general's office is in there, the CI that comes out is in there. It draws out a few people.
2, he also makes reference to Ablekuma North.
The undeclared seat.
The EC has constantly said that they are ready to declare Ablekuma North. Give us security protection. Are you going to say that because the police has failed to provide security protection to the EC to enable it do its work, are you going to say that the IGP is incompetent?
So I'm beginning to see like a quid pro quo over there. So
get-
then DC say you didn't do SAL, so this one too you won't do it.
Are you getting me? Mr. Johnson Asiedun Ketia, very respectfully, I'm calling on him. I've said this on radio today. He should begin to act like a father figure in our politics, because that's where he belongs to. He's been around for so long, seen it all, served under different presidents, seen different leaders, served under different regimes, been part of the consultative assembly that wrote the constitution. Paul, I am saying that he is in a position to mediate even conflicts within our democratic space. And that is the role he has to play. All these things are going to set us back. We should have a big heart. At some point, let us say that enough is enough. The research should rather be making sure that things of the past don't happen again.
Let me get Doc in, but Doc, before you do that, let me just grab some text messages from my young people. Kobe, give us 2 text messages. As Doc, you're going to speak about the MPP event, the one Kufuor was, and the MPP date for Congress and all that.
All right. So I have a message from President Washi. Paul, there was internal conflict within accusations upon they engineered their own removal. Don't forget they testified against themselves during the investigation process. Same cannot be said of the judiciary led by Tokomi. It is therefore needless to compare. Now, Iredu Bwansi says the NDC had agenda before assuming office. Listening to their chairman, I'm convinced by the reason why they did not allow non-NDC member to be a part of the Council of State. The chairman is pushing for a new EC to help him get the baton from President Mahama, thereby removing the CJ to make the process easy. What do you have for us, Anthony?
Right. I think someone is making a correction to an assertion that was made, a reference that was made. Abraham Copper says, respectfully, the learned senior erred in his reference to the case which he attributed to Martin Pewu. He says that, in fact, it is the Republic versus Eugene Balfour Boni, which is anchored in Article 19 of the Constitution, but it's about disclosures. I think this is like a quick correction. Samuel Ofosuba says, that is my favorite. I always listen to Otasasi Radio every Saturday morning. He is accurately right in his political contributions and opinions. Dr. Zato is an ardent supporter and follower of His Excellency. Let's hear more of him, Paul. And Chikaderi goes on to say that the doctor is really making a good point and we must learn a lot from him. Now, Rabu lecturer on the comparison between Madam Charlotte's case and the CJ says, comparing Madam Charlotte's case to that of the CJ is like comparing oranges and apples. The CJ is the head of the judiciary, an arm of government, while the EC chair was head of a commission. So these two cannot be compared at all. Now back to you, Paul.
Let's come to you, Doc. President Kufuor was at the MPP events yesterday to try and put things together. I think it's good for the MPP that seeing Kwame Pianim come to make an effort. President Kufuor said he wasn't built to speak, but he spoke out of his heart in guiding the processes. This January Congress of the party, is it, first of all, is it fait accompli? No, before you can go. Is it fait accompli or could it change?
Thank you very much. Before that, I just wanted to know something that you said about the General Secretary of the NDC.
Yeah, of course.
That is his opening statement in declaring his stand to succeed President John Dramani Mahama. That statement he was making, he wasn't making it to you and I. He was speaking directly to the grassroots of the NDC. He was looking them in the eyeball and said, look, I'm going to get the EC people out. I'm going to get the...
Why is NDC grassroots
because
interested
remember,
in that?
if you look, they hated... the NDC was able to successfully weaponize hatred towards EC. And it was one of the things that they used. Remember all the marches, everything they did. Talk to any NDC member, especially their grassroots, and they hate this EC with a passion. They hate the woman, they hate...
Convinced that she's against them.
They're convinced against them. So if you tell them that I'll get them out, it's like you're throwing red meat at them. And that is what the party chairman is trying to do. He's still reminding the NDC full soldier that I'm still your chairman, I'm still your leader, I am with you. Power has not made me to forget about you. And I'm still committed to throw red meat at you. So he's making a passionate appeal to the party soldier. He's thrown the first shots. So those comments were not made in jest. No, they were strategic, they were calculated, and they were aimed at achieving a political objective. He was speaking to a constituency. That constituency, the voters of the NDC at the grassroots. He was speaking to them, and they've heard him loud and clear. This guy will fight for us. That's what he wanted to make.
Wow, that's interesting.
If you come to the NDC, the MPP's January
Congress,
I think it will happen. And I
January 31.
Yes, I think it will happen. And the reason is that the MPP is trying to use that to address a problem. You know, sometimes we have solutions chasing for problems, we don't have problems chasing solutions. In this case, the MPP realized something very quickly. Political parties are very vulnerable when they're having their own internal elections. That is the most vulnerable they are. Mm-hmm. And so they understand that the longer distance drags on, the more vulnerable the party becomes. The MPP has come to the longer distance drags around, the more the MPP tears itself apart. And then if you are coming up against a very formidable opponent like a ruling government, you need not do that. Secondly, the NPP seems not to have a leader right now because even the national chairman is unwell.
Yeah.
It's not there. So there is a vacuum. Life and politics hates vacuums. So who speaks for the party? So what the party is trying to do is that get a candidate that everybody can rally around. Remember, if you look at His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, he just had about one year to campaign the last time.
Yeah.
While His Excellency John Dramani was basically campaigning for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It mattered. We saw that in the final results.
Yeah.
So what the NPP is now trying to do is to undo that. Is to try to regain that.
Give an advantage over the NDC candidate. So you've been campaigning longer.
And remember, as I said, Johnson Asedinketie has seen that writing on the wall. That's why he has not started.
That's why he started.
You see, those two are correlated. I'm not saying there's
I get it. Because he's seen that by January and then MPP have their candidate.
But they will have a standard bearer. Somebody who
and he'll be on the ballot.
And he'll be on the ballot and they will rally around him. Once NDC cannot do that. Because
they have to wait.
You have to wait. If you elect a flag bearer in next year, you just make the president a lame duck. So you can't do
it December 27.
Exactly. So by that time, so Joseph said it's like a relay baton, and he's already seen that by the time that the baton will be given to him, if he wins, this is how much ground the people have covered. So he has started that campaign. So if you look at the leaflets, that's what they are both posturing. So that's what the NPP wants to do. They want to say, look, it's going to be difficult. Let's make it surgical. Let's give power back to the grassroots of the NPP. The grassroots of the NPP are angry.
How are you giving power to the grassroots? By asking them to elect.
They got to decide, yes. You are simply giving power to them. The minutest unit of the NPP is the police station executives. There's no more grassroots more than that. So to tell them that you have the power, elect your flag bearer, is just giving back to the grassroots. So when people say this is a top-down approach, I don't understand what they mean by top-down.
Top-down, they mean you didn't elect police station executives first.
The police executives are already elected. They are already police station executives.
And they are within tenure.
Yes, but I don't think their tenure is over.
No, they are within tenure.
They are within tenure.
January 31st will be within tenure.
Exactly.
All of them will be within tenure.
Yes.
So
you are telling them to do the job that they were elected to do in the first place. So it's not outside tenure.
It will mean then that in one tenure they may have elected 2 presidential candidates. Yeah.
But again,
when one tenure elects 1 presidential candidate,
that is,
because it's 4 years.
That's what's happening. It doesn't mean that. So first of all, you are not breaking any law. 2, you are not taking any power away from them. You are not. You are not saying that a police station executive used to what? Elect the flag.
Some people feel that the polling station executive today, the electoral college today, belongs to a particular candidate. I don't know how a party's electoral college can belong to one person, but some people think it belongs to a particular candidate. So let us change the electoral college before we get to the...
And then give it to another candidate, right?
Well, let us change it so it doesn't go to anywhere.
See, the leading contenders...
Balfour doesn't want to speak, I understand that, because it's very controversial. He's a voter, he'll be voting in these processes.
The leading contenders in the primary, they've already faced this electorate before.
Yeah, they have.
You faced them. Yeah. And you've been campaigning or you've been in touch with them for the past 3-4 years. So they shouldn't be anybody's candidates right now. If you went and you faced them the last time and you are facing them again, so it means that even if you lost, you've had about 2 years now to make up. If you won, you have 2 years
and
now.
You may have an advantage because you can tell them that, you see, you voted for my friend and he didn't win.
Yes.
So come to me.
So this is an advantage, but the point I'm making is that if you want to lead the NPP now, and this the grassroots, they know you, and this police says they don't know you, they have no business to lead the party, because that is the nucleus of your party. The people at the...
I get the point. Now you don't need an election before the police stations know you.
Because see, if you think somebody already has an advantage, and if you go through history, the attrition rate among these police executives is very low.
So they've been there for long.
They've been there for long.
But that's true. They don't change much.
The attrition rate
police station executives don't change much.
That if you check, actually sit down and you do the math, you realize that the attrition is about 20%, 10%. Almost every community you go, some of them are grandfathered. Some of them, they just give the slot to this house and this house decide. And there are people who have been chairmen for like forever. So the attrition is, so if you were waiting that there will be a new change, no. It won't change that much. If you compare register upon register, you may only see about less than 20% change, and that's not so.
Very interesting points you're making.
So if you do that, it's not even going to help you. What will make it worse is the amount of money spent. It's a lot of money.
By the party or by the candidates?
Both. The party will spend a lot of money doing all this and put it together. That's coming from the party. The candidates will do a lot of money trying to organize us. And so it is also a money-saving mechanism to make sure that no, you are not wasting that amount of money, especially now that you are in the
Yeah, let's get the leaders first.
Let's get leaders first. So my point is that no. And also, there's one thing I know about politics. If you are complaining, you are losing. If you are winning, you are not complaining.
No, that may not be true for election 2024.
No, right now.
The NDC complained more about the Electoral Commission, but they won.
It wasn't a complaint, it was a strategic campaign. They were not complaining, it was strategic campaign.
Okay.
It was strategic communication. They were strategically communicating.
Okay.
You understand? It was neck pressing, as somebody put it. It wasn't complaining. Right now in this primary, if you are complaining, you are losing. Because again, the register has been there for years. You didn't just get up today and decide to run. You knew there was a register. You knew you were going to campaign. What I'm saying, the thing is that I'm happy with what President Kufuor told them. And if you are a politician trying to run, one of the things you realize is that if you divide your own party so much so that you come to win, is the proverb story. If you betray your brother, nobody may buy, or if they buy, they will never trust you again. You can burn the grass and win the election, or to win the elections. You can burn the house down using tribalism, using religion, using geography, using whatever you can. You can do that, but nobody will trust you after you've won that. And that is what you've seen in the Africa Policy Lens survey again and again. Voters, especially MPP voters, abhor those things. They hate it. Voters, especially MPP voters, are saying that we want candidates who are unifying, candidates who are caring, candidates who are loving. We want candidates who feel like us. We want candidates who respect everybody. And so if you are seen to be espousing certain things, where you are trying to turn one person against the other, you are trying to turn one religion against the other, you are trying to turn one's region against the other, you are trying to use one's financial abilities or inabilities against each other. MPP delegates have told pollsters, and not only the Africa Policy Lens, almost every poll, that they abhor those and they don't like those things. And they will punish any candidate who is seen to be furthering those kind of things.
That's interesting. We have to continue this conversation. But for you, I have a final word. I'm going over to the text and wrap it up. It's 11:30 actually.
For me, I think that the early Congress is important to resolve the power vacuum. What I am begging of all MPP supporters is to remain calm and let's unite. It's important that we bear in mind that come what may, December 2028, MPP will be contesting in the elections. For those of us, or some people who think that it's too early for us to elect our flag bearer, they need to bear that in mind. And they need to appreciate that for our own internal peace of mind, this process is necessary so that we can come together, put together solid ideas, right, which will be alternative to what the NDC is currently providing. And at the end of the day, we'll come and sell it to them. If they find it, purchasable, they will buy it over that of the NDC. And so all of us should keep calm. Let's unite and stay focused solidly behind the new patriotic party and not individuals. The MPP is the most important political brand in the history of this country. It's the greatest political brand in the history of this country. It has survived all transitions. And so let's stay calm, unite behind it.
That's true. The MPP is older than the NDC. Text message, 2 each, and then we leave it there.
Yeah, so Dacha still on the story of the EC says, he's quoting, if the nation is willing to accept these developments in its democratic journey, it must be understood that I sounded a warning, but the nation took the decision to be passive. He quoted this and says, as I listened to the Chief Justice's words to this point, I found myself grappling with intense emotions, straining to preserve my composure. She was just pointing it out to the NDC government that they are setting a precedent that has the potential to destroy our democracy. They like to call themselves social democrats, but I prefer to refer to them as fair-weather social democrats. Lastly, Nostradamus Mensa says, Paul, it is sad President His Excellency John Mahama is letting this injustice act go on. The NDC don't have an iota of respect, looks like it, for the position of the CJ, but looks like they say, power is like ice block. It would definitely melt. And lastly, Daniel Barton sends a message to the Chief Justice and says, Madam Chief Justice, do not worry, for no condition is permanent. The NDC will definitely be out of power one day.
Right, so Nana Owusu says, like Dr. Zato intimated, the NDC throughout the CJ thought the CJ was going to just resign and perhaps collect her entitlements. Our leadership's tenure cannot be curtailed so easily because she will never bow or be conquered. The international community is watching. Now finally, Rabiu lecturer says, greetings to you, Paul, and to your team. On Tuesday edition of Good Evening Ghana, I commented that Dr. Zato is coming. Kindly extend my regards to Dr. Zato and tell him I admire his intelligence. Now back to you.
And Master Planner Junior from Kintampo says that tell Dr. Zato that I admire his intelligence. Tell Lawyer Balfour that he's super, super, super. Paul, you know what I'm seeing? All three of you on the table will be in the cabinet of 2029. Are you seeing? Are you prophet or juju man from the Nebuchadnezzar or where? Our viewers, the rainy day. Thanks. Oh yes, Dr. Zato.
Oh yes, I just want to say a very big shout out to a former student of mine, a very good friend of mine, Vera Oyebram Labi. He says he's a fan of this program. He's a smart, intelligent, hard-working woman, and she loves her party and she loves the country Ghana, and she's passionate about both. She says, I should say good evening to you and good evening to your listeners and good evening to you. Good evening, Vera. Thank you very much. Smart, intelligent, eloquent, hard-working woman. Thank you, Vera.
Well, what was your PhD in, Doc? Somebody said I should ask you.
Public administration.
Public administration?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
From the University of Ottawa.
Ottawa in Canada?
Ontario, Canada, yes.
It gets cold there, doesn't it?
You have no idea. You have no idea. I've lived in -40, -35, -30 before, so it's not a joke.
Is it Dr. Baumian who has brought the Canada spirit to MPP?
Actually, I think he was in BC. The weather there is better. You know,
What's BC?
British Columbia. Yes. The weather there is better than Ontario is serious. It's dreadful.
Okay. On behalf of the MP for Mesia North,
MP for Mesia South.
So it's Mesia South.
You make a particular. You make a particular to hang me tomorrow.
Thanks for watching, viewers, and good night.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.